Continuing our series of secrets in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, welcome to part 5. You're listening to Phil of Filbee Gaming, and once again, I have 15 things that some players are still yet to discover. Just like the others, this may contain hidden clothing or weapons, strange findings, and bizarre characters or locations. You may know some of them, you may know all of them, or this all may be new to you. As per usual, I'll be separating each one into categories, so if you're watching one you're already aware of, you have the option to move on to the next with ease. After you watch today's video, if you feel there are any hidden things you've found that you believe a lot of other players may have missed, feel free to let us know in the comment section below. Of course, if you enjoy what you see, please hit like, subscribe, and share with friends and family, or anyone you may feel would enjoy content such as this. And please be aware, there will be potential spoilers ahead for the game. With that being said, let's get straight into the video. 15 secrets still unseen by some players, part 5. There's a side quest called Idealism and Pragmatism for Beginners, which becomes available after completing the Gilded Cage in Chapter 4. The Mayor of Saint-Denis, Henri Lemieux, needs the player's assistance in dealing with some pests, who refuse to see his way of things. By the mayor's side is his right-hand man, Jean-Marc. To shorten the story, and please be aware of the spoiler, the mayor learns that Jean-Marc is going to betray him, and orders the player to track him down and bring him in. During a short scene, the mayor orders the execution of his assistant, leaving the decision up to the player. Now for those who choose to carry out the order, you will drop the body into the waters at the back of the mayor's residence. What some players may have missed occurs some years later in the epilogue when playing as John. With the use of mods, I played the following out as Arthur. If you choose to fish near the spot where all of them years before you disposed of Jean-Marc's body, you may catch something you didn't bargain for.
Damn! Jean-Marc? Is that you? I'm sorry, buddy.
In the previous video, part 4, I featured a hidden secret revealing a special relationship between a man and his favourite sheep, over at Guthrie Farm. Just north of the farm, in the Heartland Overflow, players can come across a second sheep, wearing a very similar ribbon around its neck. It would seem that this is a common occurrence around these parts. Once again, just like the first, this sheep is also sporting a gold wedding ring. A little north of the abandoned town of Pleasance, players can come across a small halting, known as Lonnie's Shack. As you approach, the player will begin to sneak up on the residents. Entering cautiously, you can catch 4 criminals sleeping off last night's drinking. After putting them down, players can steal from the home, grabbing themselves some cash and a double-action revolver. This location can be a side mission later in the game, but it's nice to see that you can do this a lot earlier if you wish. In the main mission titled An American Pastoral Scene, Micah, who's hiding away in his hermit camp, needs Arthur's assistance in taking down a stagecoach. Upon completion, Micah now feels he can return to the gang, after feeling they may be upset with him for getting captured for stupidity. If the player chooses to return to the hermit camp that's now abandoned, they can find a couple of interesting items left behind. 2 separate clips of newspaper detailing both the Blackwater ferry heist and a double murder that Micah committed with his father, and 1 very interesting item. In his possession, Micah had an old bounty poster for Dutch, indicating that he had plans to betray him all along. The abandoned military post, formerly known as Fort BRENNAND, now known as Mossy Flats, has a unique weapon that some players may have missed out on. In one of the shacks near the entrance, players may notice, next to the cigarette card, a formation of matchsticks shaping as an arrow. Following the direction that it's indicating, the player can climb down the ladder. After a little searching around the basement, you can find both a Civil War knife and a letter written by First Lieutenant Ronald Alger, detailing the events that led to the fall of the fort. Those who travel to see the waterfalls of BRENNAND Pass may uncover a disturbing letter. Behind the waters, underneath a collectible Nevada hat, is a handwritten note by one Robert ELLIOT PATCHEN. Mr. Patchen was a talented stage performer, and although he would be perceived as a happy and confident man, behind the scenes he was heavily depressed about not being able to be open about his sexuality. This would lead him to drinking heavily, and eventually taking his own life. West of Owangila, the player may come across strange carvings of faces within the trees. Very little is understood about this, but speculators believe that the 5 different portraits were members of a tribe who once lived within these woods. Arthur states in his journal that he wonders what they were trying to tell him, if anything. On the riverbed of Blue Water Marsh rests a houseboat that is seemingly abandoned. What's strange about this is that there is music coming from inside the boat, and it's playing a song that is centuries old, Amazing Grace. Amazing Grace was written by a former slaver, John Newton. John Newton awoke one morning to find that the ship he was aboard, the Greyhound, had been caught in a severe storm just off the coast of Ireland. He knelt and prayed for both God's help and forgiveness, to which in turn the storm subsided. He was aboard the Greyhound because he was returning home to England after he himself had become a slave in West Africa before being rescued. From that day, he vowed to change his ways. John Newton spent the majority of his adult life away at sea, so this seems to be a direct reference to the man. South of Boulder Glade, players can stumble across a rather peculiar sight. High up in the tree is a small rowing boat. Nobody quite knows how it got there, but due to it being on the coastal line of the Lannahechee River, it's safe to assume it had been washed up there during a horrific storm. On the borders of Gaptooth Ridge, where it meets the Sea of Coronado, eagle-eyed players may discover the remains of a man hanging from a cliff's edge by his ankle. Shooting the man down and searching his body will uncover the start of a treasure hunt, the Elemental Trail. During the Chapter 3 mission, American Distillation, members of the Vandalin gang decide to assist the local sheriff of the town of Rhodes in both tracking and destroying an illegal moonshine distillery somewhere in the woods of the bayou. Accompanying them is the sheriff's deputy, Archibald McGregor. During the trip, he goes on to say the following.
No shame. Trash begets trash, my Uncle Reginald used to say. They're right again here. He had a few stories, let me tell you. Town preacher and town sheriff. Would drink a sailor under the table before breakfast. He had one tiny hand, like a child's, on the end of a grown man's arm.
Just south of Gallagher Hall, players can find the remains of the Uncle Reginald that Archibald described. Easily recognisable due to his withered hand and face deformation. I used modifications so we could get a better look at him. The Theatre Valier, situated in Saint-Denis, is full of acts that are all very entertaining, but there's something here I believe a lot of people may have missed. At the end of each show, our host, Aldridge D. Abington, thanks his guests for coming before closing the curtains for the night. But one particular evening, for unknown reasons, the curtains reopen slightly, allowing the player access. This is when things become strange. As the player passes through, a short musical note plays. Turning to face the audience, we can see that quite a few have remained seated. Exploring one side of the stage, we find nothing, and we can see that the audience is still there, around 30 people. After inspecting the opposite side, you will discover a cigarette card and be greeted with a little chime. Returning to the audience, every member has now gone. Walking from centre stage to the cigarette cart and then back again was only around 20 seconds. There is no way that everybody could have cleared out in that short time, not without making a ton of noise. It was as if Arthur had experienced some sort of time slip, in which he became momentarily lost in time without even realising. Let me play you the clip in real time. Is the theatre haunted? Let me know what you think below. Near Beryl's Dream in West Elizabeth, players can discover a Native American burial ground. I do believe that a lot of players will have found this already, as it's not too hidden, but here's something that I think a lot may not have realised. Burial grounds such as this one are considered highly sacred and protected by the gods. The centrepiece for this formation is the skull. If the player decides to throw a Molotov directly at it, setting it alight, the heavens will open for a moment, causing it to rain, in order to extinguish the flames. Even if you try to relight it afterwards, the now soaked wood will not allow this. Way up north, past the Wapiti Indian Reservation, is a place called Calumet. It's at this location, buried into a target, that players can both find and obtain the ancient tomahawk. I think some players may have missed this solely because of its distant location. Lastly today, here's something that people may not have realised, and it's what happens when you try to ride upon one of the boats far out into the waters. I'm not referring to the smaller canoes, I mean the much larger boats. If you somehow manage to get aboard one of these vessels and sail for a while, each time they will always inevitably sink. You've been listening to Phil of Filbee Gaming. If you enjoyed what you saw today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and share with friends and family or anyone you may feel would be interested in content such as this. If you know of any secrets that you think other players may not have yet discovered, please feel free to let us know using the comment section or finding me over on Instagram. That's at Filbee Gaming. Thank you all for watching, I truly hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.